Suffering lady. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Better do that. Copyright. They might copyright me. Thank you, YouTube, for giving me some leeway on that. I don't want any strikes. All right. I completely forgot about what the show I'm going to do today. So cue up the Jeopardy music where I need some Jeopardy music. All right. I got brain damage. You guys going to have to. All right. What do I got in there? Well, I saw something about Mike Franzese. Well, who doesn't see something about Mike Franzese? But he's going on there. Now, of course, everybody's talked about everything under the sun. And one of the things that caught me, you know, as a viewer, and he was talking about people and the mistakes and some of the bosses, their downfalls. And I give his views credence, and he said, well, of course it was greed. It was greed. So when you look at him per se, and greed, well, he knew. I mean, Mike Franzese. I've talked smack about him, but you know what? Forgive me. Because, you know, every gangster, and then you talk about if they cooperated and all this, okay? Yeah. It's almost common knowledge. I mean, if the old regime of people didn't cooperate, but more or less that knew when the RICO come, they cooperated. The RICO generation. And okay, so Mike made that big score with the gas scheme and everything. And he was smart enough to know that you can't keep that a secret. Because the Russians were also the backstory to that. The Russians also were intermingled in there. And it might get around. So, you know, here you are doing a hustle, the biggest one probably in the history of the world. Forget about organized crime. And Mike was smart enough to see that before these families find out and other people, he would make it be known and go to them. Which I don't, you know, whether he says it or whatever, that's what happened, okay? That's what happened. Because I did ask a couple guys. And I'm not revealing their names, you know. Well, you're lying if you don't reveal their names. Well, then I'm lying, okay? But forget about truth or lying, just common sense. So he went and he handed out millions to the important people from whatever family they were in before somebody whispered in a captain's ear or a boss's ear and said, hey, you know, that Franzese got this racket going, you know, let's rub him out and let's take it over. So Mike was a good enough strategist and chess player to probably say, let me do these things, business, give them a little piece of the share of the pie or the action. And because, you know, people think about the five families, the mafia, the five families. And yes, there was beefs and problems and wars, but the family, you know, sometimes they worked in tandem on things, oh, you're a Lucchese, you're a Genevieve, you're a Colombo, you're a Gambino. Oh, it wasn't like they had wars, but it wasn't like that 100% of the time. Sometimes they needed things to be done. And, just like there's people that have certain traits and better abilities, and they might have commingled on business, violence, or whatever. But Mike was smart enough to know that he better pay the important people. And because I was running around, and people would come and go in the Falls, in Buffalo, or wherever there was business. People would come to go, and you'd see. And I was curious about some things, and I'd ask the friend, my buddy that was a member, and I would say, he'd say, well, that's the Gambino or Lucchese. But like the Lucchese was like low. They were like just slicksters, Lucchese. More cerebral. And so even in the Falls, there were people from other families. And if there was a wedding party or a child making their communion or confirmation or being baptized, there'd be different members, from other families. And even with that being said, somebody might have whacked somebody but that was just like that life. But it's hard to give a narrative, because my information and schema and knowledge is only limited to whatever I witnessed or thought I witnessed or thought was this way or that way. But you try to peel the layers back and say, well, but sometimes you just know some shit that was like, no, this was like this was like this guy's whatever. But Mike Franzese, I have nothing against him. He's a good man in my eyes. I talked smack and shit about him before, but no, I was being a baby. I mean, but greed was just greed, money. That's all it was. Greed and money, and the rackets, the shakedowns, and you could do your rackets in this area, and then this family could do their rackets in this area, or whatnot. But it commingled at times. And that's that. That's that. Forget about that crap. Let's see what's let's just see what the headlines are. All right. Don't run away. Give me a break. Let's just do a little headlines. All right. And I do appreciate your support, folks. This is an early one, but a lot of people just don't come in here live anyways while I'm doing the video. So I figured, let me get one done, because my good people come in later. If I put a gangster headline in there in the thumbnail, jeez. Elton John set to rock the White House tonight. Huh? Elton John, Joe Biden? Wow. The Japanese are demanding cancellation of the Japanese leader's funeral. protesters. There's just political unrest. We could pay attention to that stuff and get our, but I mean, what else we got here? I just don't like my show to come to a screeching halt. You could almost hear it skidding. New Jersey high school football player dies after. I'm not clicking on it. Unification Church pledges. Schools. Boston Celtics coach suspended. Massachusetts crime lab scandal may involve. I gotta click onto this. Epic Massachusetts crime lab scandal may involve even broader wrongdoing, judge says. The crime lab is for the DNA and the forensics that is the most crucial evidence in cases. What's this world coming to? Please, somebody comment in there. Oh, and if you comment and everything, I will backtrack. If you're good enough to comment on these things, I do go back and look and try to comment on these good people that are good enough to make a comment. Leave me a bad comment. I'll still comment. We won't get into an MF. We won't get into a FU war. No, you have a right to your opinion. Because I can't remember everything verbatim. A decade-old scandal at a Massachusetts crime lab, which led authorities to dismiss tens of thousands of drug convictions. What? May involve wrongdoing by more people than was previously known, according to the court order. A state superior court judge said in a ruling related to the release of a trove of state investigative materials that there is evidence that other employees at the William A. Hinton State Laboratory Institute, beyond disgraced former chemist Annie Dukan, may have engaged in misconduct. Oh, wow. Or is this just an incident that might have happened in a manner which is totally wrong, because the certain regimes just want to let everybody out of prison anyways and not send anybody to prison. So in other words, it's dismissing tens of thousands of drug convictions. Well, at least they're not murderers. Wow. This is a significant development. It justifies and raises questions about the criminal convictions that the lab helped to produce with or without Annie Dukan's involvement. She's the crime lab lady. Wow. The massive misconduct at a pair of government-run Massachusetts labs that prompted the state's highest court to dismiss 61,000 drug charges. Wow. Come on, Billy. It's time to go home. Your case got overturned and everything's dismissed. What? Yeah, they dismissed 61,000 drug charges. You can go home now. We don't care if you had 10 pounds of cocaine and fentanyl. We don't care. Get back on the streets and peddle that. Yee. She admits tampering with evidence, forging test results, and lying about it. So in the meantime, more than 21,000 cases she worked on has been dismissed. Here come the lawsuits. Shapiro and Shapiro, hello? Yeah, listen, this crime lab lady had me convicted, and they manufactured all this crazy stuff, and I want some compensation. All right. You'll have a check in a week. You could just keep on peeling that back. For something that big, there's other people that knew. All right, enough of that story. Enough of that garbage. You know, and then all the upper political people in the prosecution department, law enforcement, and they're, well, we didn't know. We just sent them to jail. We didn't know. Thousands of the wrongly convicted people went to prison or jail or lost their jobs, homes, and parental rights. Oh, here it comes. The state agreed to pay as much as $14 million to settle some cases for the 30,000 wrongly convicted defendants, because they also had to pay fines, lawyers, and fees. And now the state spent more than $30 million investigating it. What is going on in here? The great state of Massachusetts. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And Boston. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I wonder if they're Democrats or Republicans. I'm not sure. Check his papers. Communist. All right. I've had enough of that darn story. Here it is. Special master in Mar-a-Lago case asks Trump to... Trump, Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump, Mar-a-Lago. I don't care if I'm a Democrat or Republican. This is just witch hunt. Come on. How about running our country? Somebody try running our country and lower inflation. Okay? This is like a Jerry, the news and Trump, and it's like a Jerry Springer show. Wow. Or Maury Povich. Come on, man. Who's running? Somebody get something done. Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the reason, that they just keep saying Donald Trump is the reason for the state of our country. Now, the knuckleheads out there, I don't care if I don't like Trump or I don't like Biden, but I'm a thinking person. But it seemed like things were smooth when Trump was around and everything became unhinged when Biden was in. So forget about being a Democrat or a Republican. How about being a thinking person? Because if you're a Democrat, you got to just, lower your IQ and just agree and just back up Biden, because that's your job as a Democrat. And, and if you're a Republican, you were happy with Trump. The Democrats, Americans, forget about Democrats and Republicans. An adult doesn't know his financial matters from one president to another, an adult. And if you can't see the difference, keep voting for them and go broke. The joke is on you, folks. Joke is on you. Oh, we're gonna like anybody and support anybody as long as it's not Donald Trump. And you folks are the folks in that demographic, lower financial status, that you feel them gas prices, you feel those fuel prices, food and gas prices. and winter's coming in the north. Wait till you get those heating bills. Yeah. You're going to be those embedded Democrats, rah, 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 Joe Biden, and, and just hate whoever the Republicans are. You should use different criteria about who is doing a good job or not. Forget about Democrat and Republicans, because there's good and bad in both parties. And they're just using a shell game on the non-thinkers. And forgive me, I get evil and I say, you know what? They should go broke. And I shouldn't say that because I do spiritual stuff at the end. But if you're going to be that twisted and steadfast and embedded to just stay on one political side while you're starving and going broke, then you deserve to go broke. And it'll be interesting. See, I shouldn't do politics on here, but I get aggy. I get a little aggy sometimes. And let's see. Everything that's wrong with our country is Donald Trump's fault. This shit's getting old, man. It's getting old. Whether I like Biden or not, whether I like Donald Trump or not, it's getting old. It's a political first. 2 gay candidates face off in congressional race. Here's a story. It doesn't say a woman called 911 on a bird watcher. It says a white woman called 911 on a black bird watcher. They're trying to pit whites against blacks, blacks against whites. And this is NBC. This is NBC, CNN, of course. Yeah. And those 2 gay candidates must be from the Democratic Party, and one of them might get the nomination, but then they're going to lose to the Republican. I'm just guessing. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You could have figured this stuff out beforehand. For that matter. Well, enough of that. Here's breaking news. The Russia-Ukraine war. Geez. They're ordering. Wow. There's a hurricane near Bermuda. Trump replies to New York Attorney General Letitia James' lawsuit on Hannity. Why? Because Hannity is really smart and sharp, and maybe Hannity might have the real news. You see, they just want to lock up anybody that's against their agenda, their platform. Well, it's all rhetoric. The news and all that is one thing. We could still go out and have good days. We could still go out and do that stuff. So, yeah, I know I'm doing this early, but I don't care. No, I'm aggravated about that stuff. See, I don't want to do that. I don't watch that news anymore, but I just figured let me do some current events and throw that in there. But at the end of the day, I still live my life and I do what I want to do. mean, so I paid a little more for this or that. And well, but what I don't like is the ones that stand, the haters that, just hate the Republicans and they accept it. And they're the ones being affected by it. Will they be the same people that go out and vote? Well, yeah, you're a steadfast Democrat, but at least when you go in the voting booth, there's a curtain around and nobody can see who you're voting, because them Democrats will be voting Republican, because that curtain closes in the voting booth, and they're like, yeah, you might talk all that smack to your friends, but at the moment of truth, you're broke, you can't afford gas, you can't pay your bills, and you're going to vote Republican because you had more money in your pocket. Who'd have ever thought that? Forget about Democrat, Republican. Who's the people that are making you lower? Who's the people that are making our country lower? It's not that hard to figure out. But they want to put you on a information merry-go-round. They want to put you on this political merry-go-round. They want to put you on this hate-based merry-go-round until you can't even think straight, and then just go, geez, I don't like Trump, I'm going to vote Democrat. Yeah. Come on, Einsteins. I mean, come on. Come on. Puppets? They'd like to believe that you guys are just simpleton puppets. If they elect another Democratic president in 2024, then people deserve to go broke. If you didn't learn the first time and you'd made the same mistake the second time, you deserve to go broke. I hope you don't have children you got to feed, though. I just hope you don't have children you have to feed. But you deserve to go broke. So that's that. We'll leave it like that. I want to do something early. Whatever my thumbnail was, Gambino, whatever, Mike Franzese, and the greed and all of that. If I bootleg the thumbnail to get you a watch, forgive me. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And be the kings and queens. And remember, I'll comment back. I look over the comments and I appreciate them. I'll catch up. All right, folks. Be the kings and queens of your world. Don't ever give up. Stay great. I might be back later, but God willing, I'll be back. And thank you for your support with the like and the subscribe and all of that stuff. I appreciate it. We're moving on up. We're moving on up to the top. We're moving on up like the Jeffersons. All right. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. And I will still do some other crime stories in there, but just not right now. Thanks, folks. God bless you.